I'd like to call to order the Town Council regular session, 7:30, and the date is Monday, September 26th. If you could stand, please, with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Could we have the roll call, please, Dale?
Council President Whaley,
Present.
Council Vice President McAtee,
Here.
Councilwoman Eddy,
Here.
Councilwoman Fogarty,
Here.
Councilman O'Neill,
Here.
all members present.
Thank you. We also have the approval of minutes of previous meetings. We have the work session for September 12th, 2011.
I move approval of those minutes.
Second.
We have motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries 500. We also have the regular session, September 12th, 2011.
I move approval. Second.
We have motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries 500. Which brings us to the consent agenda.
I move approval of the consent agenda. Second.
We have motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries 500. Which brings us to licenses. We have a resolution granting a Class F1 19-hour beverage license to Ocean State Theater Company, 364 Cards Pond Road, Wakefield, Rhode Island, for the Beyond the Sea fundraiser event to be held on Saturday, October 1st, 2011, from 5 p.m. to 1 in the morning, 1 a.m., at Theater by the Sea. Application by Joel Kipper, Director, and P.O. Box 302, Wakefield, Rhode Island, and this is new. Hello, how are you?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Margaret Lawrence for the applicant. I'm an attorney in town. I'm also proud to say that I am a member of the Board of Directors of Ocean State Theater. Ocean State Theater Company is the artistic end of Theater by the Sea. Theater by the Sea is held in, the real estate itself is held by one entity. Ocean State Theater Company is the artistic entity that actually produces the plays. So this is a fundraiser that we're having on October 1st. If I can do a little bit of plugging, I would like to, if you don't mind.
Please.
It will be a champagne reception, and then a silent auction, and then a production in the theater, a 70s revival, for those of us that remember it. Mr. Kipper is here. He just broke my heart by saying he was born in 1979. So he could not help me with what I was supposed to wear to the 70s. Then there will be the 70s revival, and then a party and dinner in the tent. So obviously we invite everyone to be there, and I would respectfully request that this application be granted for that one evening.
Thank you, Peg. Do we have questions here at the table? Carol?
Peg, where do you buy the tickets?
Thank you very much. I just happen to have that with me right here. For ticket information, call the box office, which I'm not finding the phone number. It's TKTS, I know that. 782-8587. And there are varying tickets in that you can go just to the Champagne Gala and to the show, or you can go to the Champagne Gala, the show, and the dinner and dancing afterwards with 70s music by our local band, Brass Attack.
Very good.
Further questions?
Champagne donated by the Muse, if I may add that.
Very nice.
Nice.
Jim, did you have a question?
Yeah, the money is going to benefit, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
The money will benefit Ocean State Theater Company. It is a nonprofit organization, so we are surviving by ticket prices and some grants. Reality is, in this economic time, our ticket sales have not been as robust as we would like them to be. Fortunately, we had a very, very good season, but like any other nonprofit, we have to continually look for additional resources to survive.
And you mentioned a tent, so you're not using the restaurant?
We are not using the restaurant. That is currently closed. That's why, out of an abundance of caution, we felt it was best to get our own liquor license because the bistro is closed because the theater is not operational.
I was getting there. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Further questions? Polly?
Peg, do you happen to know how much is covered by the ticket price? How much of the cost of the theater productions are covered by the theater price?
You want the gradations of tickets?
No, I just wondered, in general, the ticket price, which we think, covers a lot, doesn't cover quite as much as we think it does.
Oh, not at all.
Correct, yeah.
Not-
And
not-
I just wondered if you knew the percentage that it
I do
covered.
not. I'm
Okay.
sorry. I'm sorry, Polly. Joel may help us with that.
In this case, we're fortunate enough that as far as this production goes, all of the talent is volunteering their time, so they are going to be doing this out of the goodness of their hearts. These are alumni that have come back through both our years at Ocean State Theater Company as well as during Four Quest Entertainment years. They're coming back. The set and lighting is all being donated as well, so for this particular event, all of the ticket costs will be going towards Ocean State Theater Company. It won't be going directly for this production. It'll be going to our productions for next season.
Great, that's good to know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kathy?
I'll gladly make the motion to approve License A. I thoroughly enjoyed every show this summer at Theater by the Sea. They were fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And I hope that you made your quota with the donations at the end of the shows. Just missed it. Oh, did you? Oh, that's too bad.
Thank you. No, we did a first donations drive this year. We did a dollar drive to help underwrite the. We have an intern and apprentice program where we bring. This year we had 13 either college juniors or seniors to come and start their professional careers by being an intern with us. And we got our goal was 45,000. We got about 36,000. So we didn't quite make it, but it was a very good first effort for a drive of this nature. Hopefully at the fundraiser this weekend, maybe we'll make up some of that difference.
good.
So, but thank you for the question and your support. We appreciate it.
Excellent season.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, further questions? We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries 500. Best of luck.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Peg. Okay, our second license B is a resolution granting a miscellaneous permit to conduct the Ocean Mist Columbus Day Run on Monday, October 10th, 2011 at 1 o'clock p.m. to Kevin V. Finnegan, doing business as the Ocean Mist, 895A Matunic Beach Road, Wakefield, Rhode Island, subject to the execution of a hold harmless agreement indemnifying the town, issuance of certificate of insurance, naming the town as an additional insured in the amount specified by the risk manager and the Rhode Island Department of Transportation approval. Proceeds to benefit the Annual Rescue League of Southern Rhode Island, application by Kevin Finnegan, 331 Succotash Road, Wakefield, Rhode Island, and this is new. Hello, Kat, if you could state your name.
I'm Kat Harrington. I work over at the Ocean Mist, and I'm here representing Mr. Finnegan.
So if you could just tell us a little bit about the race.
Well, in fact, this is our 19th annual. And we raise the money for the Animal Rescue League of Southern Rhode Island. And we generally have about 150 to 200 runners. And we generally are able to donate $1,000 to $2,000 to the Rescue League. And the Rescue League shows up at the Ocean Mist for the event as well. And it's a nice event.
Nice, for a good cause. Questions here at the table? Jim?
Yeah, entry fee for runners?
It's $25.
Okay.
That
and-
includes a small buffet, and it includes a T-shirt, and it includes, what else does it include? There's a raffle, there's prizes. The first place people get $100 each,
Okay.
and then there's awards for other age groups.
And those T-shirts by wonderful work by Don Bosque? Those the T-shirts?
No, not
somebody
this
else's? No? Well, giving
I
him
do a lot of Googling to find my T-shirt designs.
Because he's made some before for the Animal Rescue League.
Really?
Yes, cat and a dog.
I try to keep everything low budget.
Maybe we should call him.
Carol?
Can you give us the course?
The course goes from the Ocean Mist up Matunic Beach Road, it takes a left onto Cards Pond, a right onto Moonstone, a right onto Schoolhouse, a right onto Matunic Beach Road, and ending at the Ocean Mist.
Just about what my truck can cover.
I thought you were interested in the entry fee.
One of these days, we're going to get you walking, Jim.
We do love to have walkers show up
But
for
I was
the
going to
event.
ask, do you welcome
Yeah, some
walkers
people
as
actually
well?
bring their animals and do the race as well.
Great.
Nice.
Yep.
So that was your question, Carol?
That was my question.
Okay. Further questions here at the table?
I move.
Approval
Go ahead,
of
Polly.
of License B?
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries 500. Thank you and good luck, Kat.
Thank you very much. Have a nice night.
You too. Which brings us to Communication A. This is a communication dated August 25th, 2011, from Stephen Sett, Town Administrator, Setti? Setti. Town Administrator seeking support for Richmond Town Council's resolution in opposition to a proposal by the Rhode Island Department of Transportation to install paid tolls on Route 95 is received, placed on file, and the town further directs.
We discussed
Polly?
this in the work session and decided we really needed more information on this, and we asked our town manager to look into it and get us more information.
Second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry, Jim?
Yeah, well, you did vote, but that's all right. If I can just...
We didn't finalize it.
Yeah, I can just make a comment on it. I certainly am strongly in support of Richmond's effort here. I find what the state has proposed on the southern part of Route 95, again, is a direct hit for our locality and our small world of business down here. The excuse is not to do it on the Massachusetts border because, quote, there might be a backup of cars, yet that's where all the money is. I just find simply appalling. This has got to stop, this nickel-dime activity here. We've got a lot other fish to fry here, and putting a toll booth on Lower 95. Maybe the purpose is, if they came out and told us, maybe the purpose is to help our casinos and slots in the long run. Maybe keep those folks from finding Route 2 in Westerly going up to the Mohegan or the Pequot casinos. Maybe there's another purpose behind this, but just to hit us at the low end of 95 is absolutely preposterous. I'm overwhelmingly in support of Richmond, so I won't join you. Yes, we want more information. I won't join you on that vote. I will oppose against. I will be against it. But the state has got to stop this. And I keep thinking of some of those horrible, horrible, deadly accidents at toll booths on 95 in Connecticut years ago. Why they got rid of them. And I just think this is absolutely asking for trouble. It's mind-boggling that this is a level of thinking we've come to.
Carol?
I have to agree with Jim on this. I do think a toll booth on Route 95 in Richmond would deter not only business, but visitors, tourists, all of the like that would increase business in our town. And I think it's something that I also cannot support.
So did I.
Well, we neg the vote.
We were just asking for information. It wasn't making a vote up or down on it, just asking for more information. I just want to clarify. That's what Polly stated.
So, if I may, it sounds like we have two people who are going to vote,
Can I just say?
right, are opposed to getting more information.
I don't mind getting more information, but I can't imagine.
Excuse me, Kathy.
Changing. I don't think it would change my mind in any way.
Of course not.
Okay, so the motion, I really would like to take this vote again. The motion is to gather more information, so,
Request that this town manager gets more information.
all right, so that's the motion.
Second.
So Jim, can you support that motion to get more information?
Oh, I certainly support more information, my goodness, yes, but
Okay.
I want
So that's-
Richmond to go forward, so I'm not going to support the...
So you'll vote against
yeah,
even
I
just
will
getting
vote
more
against it.
information?
Yeah.
And Carol?
I'll go along with more information, but I
Okay.
can't imagine I would ever support it.
All right, so it will come back to us once we get more information. All right.
All right, so
Is it
clarify,
okay
we're just
to,
going for more information, that's all that Polly's
that's all the
saying.
motion?
That's
So
all we asked
I'm going to
for.
ask for a revote, is that okay, Andy? Okay. So the motion on the floor, and who was it that seconded it? Kathy.
seconded
Just
it,
to
and
gather
I
more information from the town manager. So all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Abstention? Motion carries 4-1-0. Second communication B is a resolution adopted August 24th, 2011 by the Burrillville Town Council requesting the RIPTA funding be added to the agenda of the General Assembly's special session to be held to address the pension crisis, is received, placed on file, and the Town Council further directs.
I believe, well, we discussed this in the work session, and we agreed to place it on file.
Jim?
Yeah, I'll certainly go along with that. I certainly concur with Burrillville. Obviously, bus transportation is incredibly important for those folks who obviously need it to get to work, can't afford automobiles. But this fall's session is going to have one major issue, and I'd rather have our General Assembly focused on the pension crisis.
So is that a support for this?
That's a support.
Okay.
Yes, I thought I said.
Is that a second? Jim, that was a second as well?
Yes.
Yes. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries 5-0-0. Our last communication is a resolution adopted September 12th, 2011 by the Charlestown Town Council requesting the General Assembly to adopt legislation requiring the Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management to approve the use of more cost-effective denitrification on-site wastewater treatment systems, is received, placed on file, and the Town Council further directs.
We also talked about this in the work session, and we asked the town manager to find out some more information about these cost-effective denitrification systems before we make a decision on that. So we'll forward that on to the town manager.
Second?
Further discussion? Jim?
Yeah, it's too bad the language in here from Charlestown is requiring DEM to approve. I mean, obviously, we need to make sure these things have some decent science behind them to work. But I can only plead with DEM to get on the ball here, because this is one of the most costly, these high-tech systems, and especially for folks who have been in our communities, not just Charlestown, South Kingstown, Westerly, Narragansett. Folks can't afford this, and I don't care if they get a low-cost loan. This is incredibly expensive, and if this is a way to bring in new technology at a cost-efficient models that we can certify through DEM, I think it's imperative that they move on this quickly, because housing needs help from all sources, and this is certainly one of them. So I would certainly like to add a little sentence to DEM to let's really get on the ball here and just see how quickly they can look into the science of these.
Further discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries 5-0-0. Which brings us to comments from interested citizens. If anyone in the town chambers would like to come to the mic, this is the time. Bobby? Happy end of the summer.
Bob Traeger, how are you today?
Good, how are you?
Glad to be back. I've kind of been lazing out, falling asleep instead of coming. But anyway, seeing you brought up that 95 thing, I'm just going to comment on that. I think I agree with Jim and 100% and Carol. That would be a travesty to put a toll booth on 95. I mean, I don't know who came up with that one. But if we need money that bad, we better figure out another way to get it. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Further comments from interested citizens? Jim?
Yeah, I brought this up a few months ago, Steve. I'm looking at North Kingstown here, and I'd just like our town to be prepared, but I'm looking now at North Kingstown, an article in the paper a couple of months ago. Town council moved to prohibit wind turbines. And these aren't the farms, but these individual large units. And somehow or another, I'd just like us to be prepared. I understand the wind farms offshore, but What do we have in our arsenal that no one can put us into a spot or a position where we could be looking at a 400-foot turbine?
I'm going to let Vin address that as far as his working with the planning board on that issue.
Okay. Yeah, and the article I'm referring to was in the Providence Journal back in July 13th, North Kingstown Town Council.
Good evening. Presently, the town, any kind of wind turbine would be considered by the zoning board as a special use permit to allow, special use permit? Yeah, relative to the height of the structure. We've had, I think, about a half a dozen residential, plus or minus residential turbines erected in the community. We haven't seen any activity of late, that type of request. We haven't had any interest expressed from on the commercial grade or the large. We have gathered a bit of information, and it's been discussed by the Conservation Commission and Planning Board, and as a matter of fact, we have I guess what I would term a working draft that's been kicked back and forth between the Planning Board and Conservation Commission. It just hasn't come to fruition in terms of an ordinance, but we have talked to and worked with our solicitors in terms of the language of the draft.
Okay, you mentioned the word height. Is
Yeah.
something allowed now by use or by?
Well, I think the town has handled it to this point by a special use permit with, and dimensional variance relative to the height of, I think, accessory structures? Yeah. That's how it's been handled to this point, which I think actually puts a lot of the cards in the town's hands, I guess, in terms of the consideration. But we, having said that, we've had no inquiry or interest on the commercial side for the larger type facilities.
But, I just don't understand here, because North Kingstown first, all of a sudden, their ordinances allowed it. All of a sudden, they had a 450-footer in front of them, and people were going crazy. I just don't want to be put in a position where they may have a right through some enabling act through the state or something that we will only have to be defensive and not plan this better. So
And the other thing I would mention is that it's my understanding that the statewide planning program is leading an effort to develop standards for the consideration of alternative energy generation facilities, including wind turbines, and I think forthcoming there would be, I'm expecting that may even include a model ordinance for the communities to consider for this type of usage.
Right, so the state is looking at that? Or
Yeah, that's my understanding. I think they're working with the University of Rhode Island to some degree in that regard as well.
All right, but at the moment, our only protection is a special use permit.
Well, at the moment, that's true.
Okay,
yeah.
but could someone put a 400-footer up, take us to court and win on that basis?
I won't speculate on that, but I mean, we've had, there's nothing pending that would put us in that situation, and were something to come forward, I guess, and before we had different ordinances in place, I guess we'd handle it best we can before the zoning board with the staff and our town solicitors working together.
And I agree with all that, and I think we'd be on our toes. I just don't know if we have any defense against someone that would come in with a major proposal. That's is something the state could bypass what our ordinance are. I'm just trying to,
I think Andy wants to say something.
Andy,
Well, the state could come in and bypass our ordinance, obviously. The state could take over the citing of this if they want to, since they authorize the zoning. If they wanted to take it away from you and have it as a state thing, they could. My understanding is that it's not their plan. Their plan is to provide guidance and models. As Vin indicated with URI, there's a lot of mapping that's already been done of where the good wind areas are in Rhode Island, and the state working group is trying to take that map and overlay it with, okay, where are the high densities of people and scenic areas and historic areas that we, and then you would be left off with the areas that have good wind but don't have those other constraints to the wind energy power. So I think that might happen. South Kingstown is different. North Kingstown explicitly changed their ordinances to make the wind energy facilities permitted as of right, subject to development plan review by the planning board. They have very detailed guidelines of standards and safety precautions and so forth for those facilities, but they did envision large wind energy turbines, not unlike what you see in Portsmouth. That's what their plan was, and what Portsmouth has without problems. However, when some were proposed, and two were proposed, and one met no objection whatsoever, and the other one met a small group of very determined objectors, which blossomed into a large group of very determined objectors. And so the town changed its mind, said, no, I guess we don't want it after all. But we're not in that situation in South Kingstown. It's not permitted as of right to begin with. They have to go to the zoning board for the special use permit and for the dimensional variance on the height. So the zoning board has that ability to apply those standards and determine the impact on the community before they would approve it.
Would I feel more comfortable if we had something in the zoning ordinance that said maximum height 50 feet, 75 feet? What do we need? I'm just worried about the special use permit.
Well, if you're assuming you don't want them at all, then yes, you should do something like that. But then you're eliminating that form of alternative energy. You're saying there's no place in town that's suitable for that. And the fact of the matter is, South Kingstown is one of the communities that has a lot of suitable wind areas for alternative energy, and the town itself could be saving a lot of money if the town were involved in it. So if you want to make that decision, you can, but that's going to cut it off completely. I think you've got sufficient protection under your existing ordinances. Other towns are the same thing. Bristol was considering a wind ordinance about a year and a half ago, and they did the same thing. They just kind of stopped and said, okay, we're going to stay with the current ones. We want to see where technology is going, where this is, what's happening before we go ahead and adopt an ordinance that encourages it or prohibits it. We're just going to stay where we are. I think you've got sufficient protection now, and I would expect, I think the state is planning to have something by early 2012 is my indication of, I think, when they're planning on releasing their report and so forth. So that would be my suggestion.
Right, thank you.
I have to disclose, obviously, I think you realize from my comments, but I have to disclose too that I'm in general a proponent of alternative energy sources, including wind.
And you know, Andy, I think we all are, but I'm not going to have 400 footers on a half an acre. So I think
Exactly.
you've got to get real too and realize here that we have got to sit down with planning and zoning and find a combination of land size, again, going into historic and looking at the overlay the state probably has. We need to come up with a solution here before we're put on the spot with it. That's all I'm trying to do.
Okay. Steve, I'm sorry.
Just one more comment on the issue. It's not just the wind turbines that are something that needs to be reviewed and regulated as this new technology develops. We've already had contact with the company that will be building the 5 wind turbines off of Block Island and talking about landing areas for the utility line as it hits the mainland, and how that will have to then be tied into the National Grid's feeder system, and what type of substations are necessary. Based on zoning and zoning codes have substations as being allowed, I believe, in every zone. As such, we need to be taking a look at that as to where that type of infrastructure would be best and most appropriate in the community. So there's a number of things as this new technology develops that, from a planning perspective, will have to be reviewed. Again, having seen the potential for the landing in Narragansett and the potential feeder interconnect in South Kingstown, we've got to start asking some questions on, are there regulations that we need to put into place, or are the existing regulations appropriate to be able to protect the town's interest? You're talking about siting within rights-of-way. The question then goes into whether it's underground utilities, whether it's above-ground utilities, and how it would connect into the grid. So there are a number of those issues as the technology develops. We will see spin-off issues that are going to get into the community planning process.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Further comments from interested citizens? Bobby?
See, that's why I come. Stuff comes up. Anyway, I'm surprised Jim is so touchy on the subject. I agree with him that you have to, you wouldn't want one of those turbines spinning around right next to your house. I'll agree with that 100%. But I think that if they're far away and you don't hear the blades, they're a thing of beauty. And why do I feel that way? Because I know when that's spinning around, even though it's not cost effective yet, but it's free electricity at that point. It doesn't take gas, it doesn't take oil, it doesn't take coal. And if we don't get smart in this country pretty soon, I've said this at other meetings before this even came up, that this is an area that we should be doing all we can to push forward. I listened to Washington Journal yesterday for a little while, and they had a gentleman on that was the president of the solar panel thing all over the country anyway. I can't give you the whole thing, but I mean, I know you wouldn't want the whole thing, but the point is that scandal that just went on regarding the solar company that the government loaned money to and they went under, and Obama's getting kicked around on that. But he explained quite well what happened there. The price of silicone went way up to like $130 a ton or whatever it is, and then it was at 66, and the companies that were using that had a problem. This other company came in. Now this other company went down the tubes because they're using a different technology, and that's what happened with that company. But right now, the other companies are flourishing, the solar industry. I think that's something that the town should look into. And my last thing on it is I've just recalled when I was flying over the Bering Sea last year, at the end of a little trip we went on, and I was looking down, and you wouldn't believe how many solar wind turbine farms there are all over the place in Europe. Education's down the tubes in this country, and infrastructure is down the tubes, and this is what we need to do. And we got to bite the bullet and get it done. I hope we will support these kinds of things with the idea of looking into them thoroughly.
Thank you. Further comments? Jim?
Yeah, just a comment with Bob's comment. I think this council and this town has been supporting the deep wind proposal offshore Block Island. And I think it's a different matter when it comes down to your neighbor next door and what to expect. But there is no question we've got to go in that direction, as well as solar. And we've seen some of the early pricing by PUC out and down the road. Extremely expensive, but it's probably a lot cheaper than nuclear, and a lot cheaper probably in the long run than oil and gas. My other comment, and maybe, Al, I'll let you and Carol talk about it, but I was very pleased at the meetings last week at the Holiday Inn with the Economic Development Councils of both Narragansett and South Kingstown in particular, and other Washington County, both council members and EDC members, and both, maybe you and Carol would like to talk about it, but Ed Mozzie, as well as our own Larry Fish, head of our South Kingstown EDC, were the moderators. I thought there were a lot of great ideas, and what I came away with is that we've got to start thinking about Narragansett, South Kingstown, Charlestown, Newport as because what's good for Newport is going to be good for our community. What's good for Narragansett, it's good for South Kingstown, and vice versa. So maybe you and Carol would like to talk about it, but I was very enthusiastic after that meeting last week.
Carol?
Yes, it was a great meeting at the Holiday Inn, and it was a town council from Narragansett as well as our own town council. We discussed many ideas regarding partnerships with Narragansett and working to bring economic development into the area and to start developing joint projects like an art festival in Narragansett along with some kind of festival in Wakefield so that people would come and make a day trip. We talked about buses, we talked about small businesses, we talked about the sailboat race, the regatta that's coming for in Newport next year for the America's Cup. I guess it's the first race in a series of races to get to the America's Cup. And that the amount of tourists that they expect to have in Newport would overflow into Narragansett, into the hotels in Narragansett and South Kingstown, and how we would welcome these people and assist them in getting back and forth and showing them into the restaurants in town. So it was a very a good group that met, and we all were on the same page, which is always a good thing. And I think it was the beginning of a series of discussions, and I think the next one will even be better. So with that, Ella, you were there.
Both you and Jim have stated it all. It's just basically capitalizing on working together with our neighboring towns and bringing, improving economic development. So it was a good meeting, and it's the start of many series.
And just to wrap it up, I'm pretty sure that the Chamber was able to get Keith Stokes down here the first week in October. I don't have the date, but I think he's going to come down and see how we're cooperatively working and seeing if he can add to our ideas and offer suggestions. So you might check that with the Chamber. I think it was the first or second week in October. But I know Keith Stokes responded positively.
Further comments? I just want to thank our firefighters for another wonderful, successful Firemen's Parade on Sunday. And just a special thanks to all of our firefighters and our fallen firefighters for keeping South Kingstown a safe community. They truly hold a special place in our hearts. So I'm going to move on to Town Manager's report.
Just a couple of things to report. I advised the council at the last meeting that we were waiting for a DEM permit with Dugway Bridge. That permit is in hand now. We expect the steel installation to go in probably within the next 3 weeks. So that project is moving along. Also, continuing on the energy theme, I wanted to advise the council that we submitted an application last week for solar panels to be placed on the town hall that would provide about $7,000 a year in energy savings if the grant were successful. The grant was prepared for us through Snyder Electric, who's the town's consultant for energy on all of our buildings. The buyback isn't there if we were putting the capital in. The cost of the capital is about $326,000. Yet if the capital were provided through the stimulus dollars that are still available for energy programs, it could have, a profound impact on the value of energy savings that we would have at the town hall. Essentially, what it would do is it would put solar panels on the entire gravel roof above the assessors and building officials' bays and a portion of the finance department. So that application's been filed in an effort to try to reduce our reliance on foreign fuels. Be glad to answer any questions council has on any of the agenda items.
Jim?
Steve, is that stimulus money free money? It's not a loan. It's not...
No, this would be in capital dollars that would, the money's available as a means of trying to create jobs.
Right.
Both for the production of those solar panels as well as the installation of it. So, and those monies are controlled through the state's Department of Energy through EDC.
All right, great, okay.
We've applied, there's a pool of dollars that's available. Whether we're successful is yet to be seen. But I think it's really the first step in terms of being able to quantify what our energy uses are with each of the municipal buildings, as well as trying to come up with innovative ways to be able to cut back on those energy uses. This one, the buyback would have been in excess of 25 years. It wouldn't have been cost-effective for us to consider the capital installation. But if the programs available that would provide the opportunity for the job creation and the installation for those panels, and us be able to receive the long-term benefit as far as reduced energy costs, it seemed like a win-win as far as the application.
And energy saving is at the top of the, one of the, for job creation in terms of the federal granting of these stimulus dollars?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions for the town manager? Okay, which brings us to the town solicitor's report. Any questions, Andy? Next is appointments. I believe we have one.
I move that we appoint William Murray Gates to the Conservation Commission. His term expired in September of 2011, and I move that we appoint him for 3 years till September 2014.
Second?
We have motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries
I was
500.
going to say, I find it funny because William Murray Gates was the person who came into the town council and was talking about wind power energy maybe a year and a half ago. Wasn't he so the irony that we're approving him, I just wanted to point that out. And he's obviously on our Conservation Commission and has been a big proponent of the windmills and getting them going here in the town of South Kingstown. I just thought I'd point that out.
That's a good point. Okay. Which brings us to closed executive session. So any further comments before we go into executive session? Okay, this is a closed executive session pursuant to Rhode Island General Law 42-46-5, A1, to discuss matters pertaining to personnel. And this is more than one person. This is several people. And for the record, I just want to let everyone know that these people have been notified for the record.
Right,
Andy?
specifically, that they've been notified of their right to have this in open session, and the minutes will reflect that.
Thank you. Okay, so any questions before we go into a closed executive session? Ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries 500. So we are in, do we need a roll call vote? Dale? Do we need a roll call?
Council President Whaley?
Aye.
Council Vice President McAtee?
Aye.
Councilwoman Eddy?
Aye.
Councilwoman Fogarty?
Aye.
Councilman O'Neill?
Aye.
Unanimous affirmative vote to adjourn to closed executive session at 8:13.
Thank you.
To recess to closed executive session, not adjourn.
Recess.
You want recess?
Those are journalists?